Alright, so I thought I'd do a bit of an update. I've not done one in a while on the channel about the Drift Adventures. So what started with, if you remember, a completely homebrew drift chassis, which was okay just to get me into it and make me realise whether I wanted to invest more money into it, and that was cool. And then I got the FTX, and that's my FTX shell now, but obviously the FTX looks like this. I did quite a lot of work on the FTX, watch my other videos if you want to know how far I went with that and making it rear-wheel drive and so on. And then you've got the Sakura shell, which I resurrected from a dead shell, which is looking a little bit different now. Got a few little stickers on it and stuff, bits and bobs. And that was to go on a Sakura D4. Now this is what the Sakura D4 now looks like. So this was the shell I've just done for it. I wanted to do something different, so I bought the Chevy truck off eBay. They're only £15 shells, so they're pretty cheap. But then I spent some good money doing some bits. So it's got all PS paint, Tamiya PS paint. So I did the gunmetal grey with a blue accent, black bits here and there, sort of dotted around. And then I went on eBay and found some 110 sticker sets, just JDM 110 sticker sets, and found some kind of cool sort of drift stickers and stuff to accessorize it with. Things that I've bought for it, like a hobby wing and so on, gave me some stickers. That's pretty cool. So I did those. A couple of bits here and there that aren't perfect. The light stickers weren't the greatest. They're quite hard to get them to stick around the corners, even though I heat them up. And a couple of bits of blue from things like the spoiler coming through. I haven't decided if this wing here from the FTX is staying yet. It's only gently stuck on, but I've got another one I'm going to try first before I make a decision. But yeah, I learned a lot about masking it and painting it and all that sort of stuff, but it was good fun to do. And then it's just some carbon wrap on the back there to give it the sort of effect of a carbon deck on the truck. So yeah, really pleased with that, and it'll certainly go for a while until it gets smashed up learning. Although we did a drift night in the garage, unfortunately I didn't take any video. Obviously that wasn't in the way. I didn't take any video, but I did take a couple of stills. Here's what the garage looked like set up with some extra bits that I'd done. So once that was all set up, obviously I got some fake grass, just some offcuts. We've got some fake grass in my back garden, just some offcuts of that. Cut it into some circles for some islands, which work really well, and then some sort of different shape islands, some curvy ones to like mark corners and stuff. And actually I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really good thing to do, ever so cheap, good track extras, because when you're learning a lot, you're obviously going to be stacking it into sidewalls and things like that. So if you run onto one of those, generally it does stop you. You get stuck. It's like running into a sand trap in real life, and you kind of get stuck on it. So you don't want to hit it, but at the same time it doesn't damage anything. And the other thing we used, you might see in the background there, we used some of my son's track for Hot Wheels cars. So that was around the edge here to stop you hitting things like going under the surface there. And that worked okay, but I think for the next setup you'll see we're going to get some better stuff. So onto the Sakura D4 then. So it's been a heck of a learning curve, I have to say. We went to Slide House. Here's some hilariously bad footage from Slide House. But the guides from Slide House, they were awesome, super pro dudes. And they helped us a lot and helped me with the chassis a lot and helped me develop the chassis a lot. I left with a bit of a shopping list of things I wanted to do to make it better, and so on. So I'll talk you through what I've done. I know there's a lot of people who've talked about Sakura D4s and how to make them good, and I'm still on a pathway of working with the chassis, but I'm quite enjoying the modified life. I have to say, if you wanted something to work straight out of the box, you should probably go MST or Yoko YD02E or YD2E, because there's a lot of faff going on with these, and if you think about pricing wise, this was £140 for the chassis, and then obviously you've got your electronics and stuff, but comparing that the YD02, I think you can get a YD2E for something like 180, and I think you can get an MST chassis for about 200 for the cheapest one they do, and out of the box that's just going to work, isn't it? Or more so than I think than these do, whereas there's quite a bit of faff with this. So already on the way I've got some new knuckles, and that's an extra sort of, I think that was an extra 30 quid or 22 pound I think for the Sakura ones. I wanted the genuine Sakura ones. I've got to buy a slide rack yet to go on the sort of front there. I'm trying to hunt out a slide rack. It seems like they're out of stock the world over. So I'm waiting for a slide rack to come in stock, to buy a slide rack. Sorry. To buy a slide rack. Good catch. So I'm waiting for a slide rack, and then that should sort out some of the steering issues as well. What it is with the steering, you find, is that when it's on full lock, is you tend to get a bit of this. You can see how that front wheel there, the knuckle, can just go that little bit too far, like overstretch itself and lock out, which is quite frustrating. And the slide rack being firmer will stop that, and it's those pivot points are all fully tightened up on mine and everything. It's quite hard to get like a decent amount of lock, and them not do that. So that's on my list of things to come. But so far, what have I got? So it is I'm not going to pronounce it right, the Onsinki motor, which is a 10.5 turn. It's the Hobby Wing sort of £40, £45 ESC, which is fine, although it doesn't have turbo. It does have so it doesn't have sort of a pulse. It'll give you it doesn't have a boost setting. It does have a pulse or punch setting, which you can set a little bit higher, but other than that, it's just timing adjustment. So it would be nice if that had a boost setting and so on it, so you can adjust when the boost comes in to give you sort of where the punch is in the rev range sort of thing. But it doesn't have that. That's the only sort of downside to it. But other than that, compared to the Toro, I think it's very, very similar in settings. I got an extra fan that was just a £10 one, which is just stuck on with some tape. I know you can get a kit that gives you one which bolts onto here, which is only about £12, which is quite cool, but I wanted the gold and black to match my gold and black motor because, yeah, that's the way it is. Same, I've gone for the Onsiki gyro. I was a little worried about the gyro, about what to do with the gyro, so I bought a Sky RC one, and I was very disappointed. That was one of the reasons why they handled so badly when we went to Slide House. So I came away from there straight away and bought the this one, which they're only about £30, and actually they seem to be sort of trade rated, so to speak, trade rated, mate, and they work quite well. I'm quite pleased with how it's handling now with that. I've tried a lot of different setups, so obviously the magnets are back here for the shell, but I did have, you can see I've got the battery mount on the back there. I did have the battery mounted to the back. I did quite a lot of testing trying to get it to grip better when we're at Slide House, because it just wouldn't move. The car would just sort of sit still and not grip up and push forwards. So I did try the battery on the back. It was good, gave me a lot of grip, but it also gave me a lot of understeer, so actually that wasn't particularly fantastic. So I decided to move it to the middle, and I bought myself a shorty battery to go in there so it's lighter as well. So currently I'm messing around with it in the middle, and the footage you'll see at the end of the video when we're at the next sort of drift spot we're trying out is with it in the middle, trying to be the best I can. Everything you read up about will say you want zero camber on the back there, but actually zero camber because of the tyres from sort of stock. I'm just getting that to focus. You can see they've got a gentle curve to them, and you know, it'd be nice to be able to run it long enough to flatten off that curve so you get a completely flat contact patch. But that isn't appearing to happen fast enough, and I'm losing a lot of grip. So I've actually, you can see they're running probably about maybe 3 or 4 degrees of camber. I don't have a camber measuring device, but what that is that's running just on that ever so light taper of the wheel, so it just gives me a bit more contact, and that's definitely helped in pushing the car forward more. So that was one of the things I did. The other thing was the fact that when you buy a Sakura, they come with 350 weight oil, and one of the things one of the guys talked to me about was the speed the dampers can move at and how soft they are, because they really need to have a soft damper setup for the weight transfer as you accelerate to push the back end down against the floor. So I left the front. I had to put a little spacer in the front to get the front to raise up high enough. If you watch anything like the Afro RC guy, he does a lot of guides on these, and they want to sit higher at the front than they do at the back. So mine's about 6mm and 4mm. That little extra spacer in there has just given me an extra bit of lift at the front there, and that's still the 350 weight oil. The back there we put 100 weight in, and it made a huge difference straight away to how soft the rear is. If you think about it, when you've got a single one at the front here acting, that wants to be as soft as the front as it is at the back, and it isn't. When as standard with the 350 weight, the back hardly moved and the front was really soft, and it was really hard to get it to sit where I wanted it. So that's worked really well. The extra other thing was adjusting your roll centre at the back there. So we moved the arms from the factory setup, moved them to the inside point on the hub here, which just means that your roll centre is slightly different, the way it handles to give you more grip. And I think it's all these little marginal gains. I think that helped. But the only thing we had to do was, because these arms were too long, we had to swap them out. And one of the guys again at Slide House very kindly gave me these arms to be able to adjust them slightly shorter, so you could run it on that inner point there. So another thing done, and yeah, that definitely felt a little bit better once I'd done that too. So all these things are sort of little marginal gains. What else? So different weight there, different setup there to allow me to get the camber right and to get the roll centre different. Batteries in that in the middle. Oh, the one thing I've done, which is quite cool, is I got myself a carbon sheet. I will show you the carbon sheet. Carbon sheet, just off eBay, just an A4 piece of carbon, about £20–25 for making bits out of. And I really didn't like the top shelf on the chassis as standard, because it's got all these sharp parts all over it and you keep catching your hands on it. Didn't like that at all. So what I've done is cut myself a piece of carbon and matched the top piece, drilled the holes in it on a sander, cut it to shape, and job done. I've got a carbon top layer now, which looks really nice, and it's so much stiffer. You know, you could really flex the standard one, so I'm pretty pleased with that too. So I think that about wraps it up for the back. For the front, what have I done at the front? So you can see it's running extreme amounts of camber at the front. That was made possible by putting a spacer, I'm just focusing the camera right on it, in that bottom arm there. So that was just a sort of a 1.5mm washer to push that bottom end of the knuckle out to give me a lot more adjustment of camber at the top, because the standard, you don't get enough like that top adjuster there. You won't be able to run camber like that unless you push out the bottom arm, which is really easy to do. So you just take the arm off, put a washer in and screw it back together. You just have to make sure you got the right size washer. I'm still running the standard knuckles, and to get the knuckles to handle as well as I could, to change the KPI kind of thing, the caster setup, is I've moved the top right out as far as it will go, and the bottom out right out as well. So you got insane camber, but once it turns up, you can see the wheels, no, not perfect flat camber, flat patched, but it is pretty damn good, and it's not leaning back. When you do that from purchase, that wheel will be leant right over, and it's like, it's supposed to be really not good for handling. So that's definitely changed that and set that up better without the knuckles. I'm looking forward to seeing how much better that becomes when I put the correct knuckles on there. As standard on the servo horn, we've all had problems with the servo horn that they supply you. The springs in them are really soft, so to a point that it wouldn't even go full lock right or left at times. So that's gone, and we've just put a solid one that came with the servo in there to get rid of that. So that's the progress so far. Obviously we've got the sort of garage that we drift in. We're going to be going down to Slide House more and more, and we've just found out that a local community centre has a lounge area that's carpeted, that's about double the size of a double garage, if you will. So we're going there on Tuesday, so I'm going to finish this video off with some footage of us skidding in the local community centre and see how that goes. If it goes really well, that's in Lincoln. We're going to be setting up a drift night, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month there, and set up some circuit things and try and get some other people to go. So yeah, hopefully it goes well. So you'll see how we go next.
The pressure's up now, isn't it? About 20 miles.
You just ruined that shot, Dave.
Good.
So that was us drifting badly at Slide House, but obviously it's quite nice to see some of the pros and how they were drifting, and some of the guys got some other footage. I know one of my friends, Dave, who comes with us, he got some good footage of those guys. So just for the fun, here's some Slide House footage.
Yeah, that was just Just a quick buy then and just keep it going for a bit.
So, this is our room we booked. It's a pretty decent size. You probably don't get an idea of perspective on picture, but if I were to say in this corner here, I would probably say that's the size of a garage there. So we're easy over 2 garages, easy, aren't we? So it's pretty cool. We're just going to set up, do some skids. They're probably not the best use of space because I think you could get far more track in here. We've kind of gone for a nice round corner here, kind of a in and out, in around the outside of there, around the outside of there, in round the island, and then out, and then a one big right-hander. Because we're trying to practice kind of mid bends that are kind of gentle to really tight ones to quite wide ones. So yeah, it seemed quite challenging like that. If you saw a little clip of me trying to do it and failing a lot. So hopefully by the end of the night we'll get a bit better. So 4-wheel drive on a hardwood floor appears to be ace fun. And it doesn't appear to mark it either, which is pretty good. Yeah, a wobble then, and like 3 inch feet. Yeah. Mess around.
Round the screen with beer.
I'm missing a button.
Oh yeah.
How's it going?
Shit.
Let's go.
Press it there, it's cooling down a bit, isn't it? Warm.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it needs some air in there, so kind of.
That's like why I stopped you.
Yeah. At the back.
Oh, you go the wrong way around though. That's why you did that. We're going that way around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was going the right way, but you just changed your mind again, haven't you? Classic fiddle.
You've gone too far for the stereo, fish. Did you bring that spoiler?
Oh, nutsack.
I just spilled that one on a little bit. I quite like it actually.
No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, I'm left it somewhere else.
Left it somewhere else.
Left it in my model box. It's got it, I'll show you big max skills.
Oh, I got so excited when I pulled out.
radio drifting, so you take over the Japanese show.
Oh, you see the high your shells then.
Hire my shell.
Yeah.
You told me to hire my car.
Yeah, basically. Money from always on the line. Hold it up, boys. No replacement.
Wait a few fish. Oh, fish, come on now.
Good, I'm so good. I'm so good.
Oh,